I can't see it.
I can't believe I found it.
Okay, I must have been in the wrong section. Was it in the
No,
wrong
it was
section?
right there. You're supposed to.
Yeah, I looked. Yeah. I haven't been home, so maybe. Well, I probably won't open that forever.
Hey, Jason.
You can reach that without even allowed.
That's why I was
That's why you chose that spot, right? Oh, it's much warmer in here.
Okay, I'll call the special meeting to order for Wednesday, March 14th, 2018. Take attendance. All the selectmen are here. Proceed with the budget workshop. Just left off.
I have us leaving off. Oh, never mind, that's Dave.
So,
It's IT, right? We got that far?
yeah, IT. 910-400. Thank you.
What's the difference between professional services and purchase services?
Joe, you want to come up, talk about IT?
Sure. What was the question? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Joe, what's the difference between professional services and purchase services?
Professional services is our Cox, our internet cable, the internet that ties all the buildings together, that gives us the Cox. And that's about roughly, it's 12,200 and change. And then there's 20,000 in that supports our consultant. So when we have something that is above and beyond us that we can't handle, we have a consultant that built our whole network.
Is that in professional services?
Yes. So that's all professional services, those two things, because that's how, when we set up the budgets a few years back, that's how they clumped them in. Those are items that we pay somebody, a professional, to do. And then the purchase services are all our some of our softwares, like antivirus, because it's not really a license. We're just, you know, it's hold on, let me get my notebook. I can tell you exactly.
The next line you have is software.
That's all our software licenses, our Outlook, our QDS, our the accounting, AccuFund, all our accounting, everything we do with everything that each department needs and does for whatever supports their offices. No, I got it right here. Mine's all broken. So our purchase services are like all our hardware, our backup systems that we have here that back up to the cloud every night, the storage systems. That is what we consider all our purchase services. Our antivirus, which is like Norton, or we call it Semantics, but it's a Norton version. Our VMware, which prevents other people from hacking in. And we have 2 sets of Barracudas. The police have one, and we have others. They're just backup systems.
In the professional services, you say you use Cox?
We use Cox Internet, yes.
Have you gone out and gotten competitive quotes on that? Are there other companies that can do the same thing?
It's Cox, Frontier, and that's it. And Frontier has a lot of issues, a lot of internet issues. So we stayed away from them. The police use Frontier for their phone lines, and they have a substantial amount of phone lines. So we've stayed away. We basically have modems in every building, and that's how we communicate. It's a monthly charge like a homeowner per unit. So we have 5.
Cox, I think, is a good service provider.
Mhm.
We had them for years and never had a problem in years and years. We know the Frontier, and you're right,
Yes.
they were a little more iffy.
I have personally, I have Frontier at my house. My neighbor has Cox. I lose mine constantly. He never has any problems. And it's the same thing I have to say for the town. We rarely have problems. We have speed issues, things sometimes slow, but that's just nature of the beast with the internet.
But have you looked at people like AT&T and Infinity and people like that?
AT&T sold out to Frontier. They do no more,
Oh, is that
Yes.
right, in Connecticut?
and Infinity is not available in our area yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I switched to AT&T when it came available.
So your judgment is that
There's not,
Frontier is too risky, huh?
yes. To take
Our whole
us,
phone system is on
Yes.
Cox, so if we lose.
we have a voice over IP phone system.
We lose our phones. And they've been very good.
Joe, do you know in how many licenses you have?
How many licenses for software?
Yes.
Um,
And how does that work? Who has access to what?
Who has access to what? So I mean, I believe you might have got this itemized when we submitted the budget.
It's in the book.
But the treasurer has AccuFund. It's a software license. The tax collector and the assessor both use what they call QDS, which is Quality Data Systems. The building department with the engineering and planning all share View Permit. It's a permitting system. The police have a couple different softwares. The town clerk uses for her records and her keeping of records, she uses a what they call a New Vision system. And then the planning department has the GIS, which is New England Geo. Parks and Rec uses Sportsman. And the senior center uses a charity tracker
Okay.
system that helps them track.
And Joe, are those all so specific that you
Yes.
have to have all those different
Yes.
base platforms?
Most of those are all vetted through, what's that association we are with? That one of the, for, you guys were there for CCMC.
CCO.
Almost all of those are through them.
What is that?
That's me.
Oh.
I just
Is that a cell phone ring?
Huh?
Is that a cell phone ring?
That's my alert.
So the most expensive one on here is Outlook?
Outlook is the most expensive. That is for that's for our email systems.
Okay. And does everybody have Office then? Or you just have a license for Outlook?
Outlook 365 is complete, so it has Office included into it. So it has Word, Excel, there's, what else?
PowerPoint, I think.
Publisher, PowerPoint, it's all the latest version because it's a web-based version. We don't have disks or we don't have it
Right.
on our server, it's all web-based. So, and for the full-time employees, it's $210 an employee per year to have all that. And then we have what they call kiosks, like you all have, where you have access to it via the internet, and that's $35 a person. Because you don't do what the employees, it supports all the employees, it's all the software for Excel, Word, everything. That's what we basically use, Excel, Word.
And has the consultants had any conversation with you about the process where you really only need one license for the town? There's a process you can go through to do that.
No.
Okay, you might want to talk to them about it because we did that in some locations and you know, some people have high users, some don't. Some are using primarily other things, and there's a way to do that. A lot of hospitals have done that, different, you know, from business standpoint, so there is a way,
Mhm.
I just can't think of the term, what it is, but it will come to me. But that could save you some money if that
I
would
will-
work.
I will look
I
into
don't
it.
know. Okay.
And the $16,000 increase is just simply
Well-
increase in fees?
Well, the $16,000 increase is, 10,000 of it is for equipment. Because it is my recommendation that we start seriously upgrading and working on our infrastructure. Everything, every PC, every monitor is all the same exact age. And you know what happens, I mean, technology, they're all 5 to 8 years old right now. So once something starts happening, it will be catastrophic, and there's 75 of those that are 5 and 8 years old, and there's roughly about another 100, there's about another 35 that are 10 years plus.
Is this the beginning of an upgrade?
No,
This first year?
No. Well, I asked for it last year, but it got cut. You know, and I'm not talking about going crazy, I'm just talking about starting with, you know, supervisors and taking their computers, their desktops, changing them out and taking the ones they have that are newer and replacing them with some of the older ones, and slowly just, you know, go department by department. Maybe every department gets 2 new PCs this year. So we're starting to pay attention that way there. If something happens, it doesn't shut the whole department down. We're working on a maintenance schedule like we do with everything.
How many units can you buy for?
We
for-
have, Andy, we've had to replace
7
7 hard drives in the computers.
in the last year.
Mhm.
That
I mean,
last
they're
fiscal,
starting
this
to-
fiscal
They're
year.
starting to
Yep.
go, you know.
How many units can you buy, Joe, for 10,000?
Desktops are roughly somewhere between the $300 and $500 range, depending on, you know, obviously when you buy more, you can get better ones. We can look at some refurbished ones that are a couple of years old. So, you know, there's all kinds of options. There's always big companies. That's how we got a hold of these 75. They were 3 years old. They were just about out of their factory warranty. That company sells them off and they upgrade. So they get still a good price, and us, people like us grab them up because they're very cost effective for us.
And your 10,000, your estimate of how many units you're gonna be able to get for 10,000?
I
20 or 30
don't,
of them?
I would put it out there. I don't know if I would spend it all because we do have printers that support that line. We do have our switches, our PoE switches that control our phones. That's also where if we have a phone go bad, we buy it out of that because phones are under IT. So I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't go too crazy. You know, right now we just address what we have, like the monitor there. That monitor had to come out of that IT line, and there's about $1,100 left in there.
Mhm. And how many do you plan to upgrade?
How many do I plan? I would like to see us at least invest in maybe 15 or 20 of them.
Thank you.
The numbers you had, you said 75 plus another 35?
Yes,
Okay, so that's what?
about 110 PCs.
Okay, but maybe I have this information incorrect, but I thought there was a total of only 80 employees on the town side.
Well, town includes police,
Okay, plus the police. So-
plus the police, yes.
So how many do they have over there? Because, you know, like
When
your
we
guys
did
would
the,
be using one kind of thing, that includes in that number.
well, when we did the conversion, the town got 45 of the new ones and the police got the balance, which we bought 75 total. They have a lot of workstations over there. I don't know how many they have. I've never, like I say, they're running a lot of the older ones.
But they got 35
Mm-hmm.
and the rest got 75.
No, we got 45.
Oh, 45.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, every department outside of the tax collector's counter, the clerk has one and the assessor have a couple that the public use. Every department got a couple.
I guess, from my perspective, what my experience would be that you would have, you know, due to the age of them, like a 2-year plan, that we have X number that we'd like to replace this year, and the balance of them next year, and this is the quote that we have for getting new ones for this, you know, first try at this, not try, but first range of them to get, so that, you know, the plan is more than, okay, we'll put 10,000 aside, that I think we should deal with real numbers so that we're for
Well, the
sure.
10,000 includes a lot of other things. A switch costs about 2,500 if a switch goes bad
Okay.
on the server. We have multiple, all our satellite buildings, the Annex, Public Works, Park and Rec, all have smaller switches that run about $600 a piece.
Mhm.
So there's, you know, there's maintenance involved. The Barracudas go down there about $2,500 to replace.
Okay, I understand all that.
So
It's
there's,
just-
you know, there's,
It's just that, you know, we have 60 or whatever the number is,
Mhm.
you know, in this next fiscal year, we want to do 60% or whatever that number is, and then, you know, so that number's in here, and you've got a quote for this. And then the other things are, those are cushion things, that, because you don't know if it's going to break or not, right?
right.
Just looking to put some money in there, so that's the way I would do that, so that, you know, you're definitely going to move off of those that are so old, so that there's a plan there. That's how I would recommend to do that.
Joe, how many of the 75 that we have need upgrade? How many of them are relatively modern units?
Well, out of the 75,
Yeah,
they're all 5,
they're all that old.
they're all that old, yes. Everything's that old. We don't, we have nothing newer than 5-year-old.
Okay.
But I would say, didn't, like, two years ago, those 75, weren't they all refurbished ones?
It was almost 3 now.
3 years ago,
Yeah.
we bought
Yes.
refurbished ones, so they're, refurbished ones are 3 years old.
And they were 3 years, yeah.
Yeah, so we're
I mean,
we're starting to, we're gonna have to start to replace some, and some will last a longer time, what, 4 years?
Joe, are the refurbished units, are they like new? Are they?
well, they're 3 years old, they're just about out of their factory warranty, or their Lenovo's. And, you know, like Len said, that we've had 5 hard drives go bad this year.
In those
units, yes, sir.
In the ones that are refurbished.
On the older ones are all run at the police department, and they have, you know, they don't really, if it goes bad, they steal parts out of another one and they make it work. You know, like I say, they use them as secondary workstations and.
It sounds like it's going to take you 4 to 5 years to.
Right, and
Replace
it's not a panic situation, but it's something that, you know, it's like everything. We should be on a replacement schedule to say, you know, I'm gonna do 15 this year, or I'm gonna do 20 this year. But fortunately, we haven't had to do anything because we're working on a relatively modern system for us. Prior to that, how old were those? Yeah, the prior to that, the upgrade 3 years ago, they were almost, yeah, probably 10 years plus.
And how many did you upgrade at that time?
I was not here. They went
Actually,
through
that
it.
was, yeah, they were, I was here 15 years.
I would say they did every department, because there were a lot of older, the Dells, they were all Dells, and our consultant fees were astronomical because they were here every week doing something to one.
Mhm.
For the price today, you know,
Right.
you can buy one $300-400 and brand new with a warranty.
Hmm.
So there should be a schedule to how many things should be done.
That's right.
Okay, do you wanna, somebody wanna make a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the information technology budget as submitted at $201,598.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Sanitation.
That's US hauling, is it?
Yes.
USA Hauling, All American Waste, USA Hauling.
Are there, Lynn, are there any other companies in the area? Do you get competitive bids, or do you just go back to those people all the time?
Good thought.
He'll end up sleeping with the fishes.
I was trying not to, that doesn't work well. Trash and recycling is a funny business. The contractors, I don't know, I wish those were. Contractors won't generally go into other people's areas, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very difficult to,
And this is their territory?
yes.
They're in town.
Yeah,
And they are in town, yes.
Yeah, and I understand that. And there's something good about that also, isn't there?
We have, they're very responsive. I mean, if we have a problem, if someone calls at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and says, oh, gee, you know, I forgot my trash didn't get out, you know, a lot of times they'll make sure it gets picked up by the end of the day or certainly the next day.
Even for somebody like myself, who's just a private citizen, they'll go back and pick it up?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Anybody on this, yeah, they'll, if someone calls us and says, I missed the trash collection today, we call them right away, and a part of the time, they will try very hard to pick it up that day. If not, they'll tell us, just tell them to leave it out the next day, and they'll come and get it. They're very,
that's a good service, isn't it?
yes, they're very good.
Yeah, they're excellent. And my section, they do Fridays there. And if you go to Vernon on Friday for anything, Skinner Road, you know, past the 5 corners there, and you drive down Skinner Road, every one of the trash cans is on its side or laying in the road, both. I mean, these guys are so careful. They really do a really good job.
Oh, they do. I agree. They do a good job. They really do.
There's something to say for that.
I've seen a guy that does Rice Street.
What's that, Steve?
I've seen a guy that picks up the trash on Rice Street. And I've actually seen that man, after he empties it, the can, take the can and walk it to the house for the person.
We have a person.
Now, I do not know what that's about, but to me, that's one hell of a service. They'll bring it back to your garage door for you.
I've seen them do that for some people that I personally know that are somewhat disabled.
Okay.
And somehow they see that, you know, people struggling a bit to move that can, and they do that.
They do. I've seen it in our little community. We have a fellow down the street from us, and he had a bad leg for a couple of months or so, and the fellow got off the truck every single week and pushed his trash cans up next to his garage door. So, you know, they're a good company, and there's no question about that. I have one other question, though. Although now I understand it's territorial and you really can't get, you know, you get shot if you change it.
They quite frankly just won't bid it.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you have any idea, is USA Hauling, are their prices competitive? Are they expensive?
They're competitive for us because they're in town, and they give us a fairly decent price because they are in town.
Mm.
They want to stay in town, they want to be good neighbors, and every so many years when we've renegotiated the contract, they've been very good. Now, the last contract that we negotiated, the gentleman that did all that on the municipal side has since retired. So coming up next year, we'll be with someone new. It's a younger gentleman, but maybe one of the, Antonacci's or something will sit in on it. And,
is that a multi-year contract?
Yeah.
3?
Yeah, actually it was 3 and then it was extended. I think we extended it a year or 2 or something like that because they gave us a good rate.
What kind of escalator do they throw in for each year? Do you have any understanding of that?
I think it's around 2 or 3%. But a lot of it, recycling we used to get a lot more money on the recycling end, but the recycle, they're not getting the money for it anymore, so. We still get some, but it's not like it used to be. I think we actually do better on our e-waste recycling than we do on the regular recycling.
We get payback for recycling?
Yes. Very little on the trash recycling end of it. We do better on the e-waste side. We have a company that comes in. They actually provide the service for free, provide us the containers for free, and we actually get a check from them, you know. So, I mean, they make some money on it too, so, and they take everything. I mean, they take the white paper and everything for us, so we don't have. I mean, in this town, we have people calling all the time. You know, do you have a dump? Well, number one, no, we don't have a dump. Do you have a transfer station? No, we don't have a transfer station. And, you know, we don't have bulk pickup either. We have the 2 drop-off days up on Showham Road. But, so if people can get things like washers and dryers, we do mattress recycling now too. So if people can get those things to the town garage, we have a spot for them to get rid of it.
Yeah, I know that.
So how much money did you get from that stuff last year?
It was,
$832.
for the whole year, a little over $900. So,
Okay. As I said to others, you know, in this process, you know, if you have income from that, to put it in a line, you know.
we have to do that next year. When we were here actually making the presentation, you mentioned that to
That's
us.
right, I forgot, yeah.
Yeah, and we're gonna
I
have
think it's
some.
just a good thing for people to understand, you know, it's
Yeah.
not all out.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of money, but it's money.
But it's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Port Town Fair, I think we should have $500 in it, don't we give them
We
500?
have that under activities and.
Oh, okay,
fees.
all right, good.
It was put in this one last year because we had to do we were the host town, so we had to do the sanitation.
Okay.
And it also, it's been a few years since we've had a household hazardous waste drop-off, so we'd like to have one this year. We have one every 2 or 3 years. And people call on a regular basis looking to get rid of paints and oils and mercury, what have you, you know. So.
Okay.
Is that costly to dispose of?
Yes.
I would think it would be.
Yes. I mean, that's all included in that, and that's a pretty good price, quite frankly, that we get from environmental services.
In South Windsor?
Yeah.
Okay, we want to make a motion?
I move to approve the sanitation department budget as presented for a department total of $930,150.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, contingency. Contingency, we bumped it up considerably because there's 3 or 4 unions that are in negotiation, so we haven't put anything in the budget for increases, union increases for next year. So if we do resolve the contracts, then we'll have to take money from the contingency fund to pay for any increase in union wages.
And what is the basis for the $200,000 increase? Is it based on some expectation of the final negotiated rate?
I would say yes, but I'm sure.
Well, I did give you last week in that package.
Yes.
just To give you an idea of what, if contract settled, what the total cost would be. That, which is kind of a,
That's the basis.
yeah. That, then you got legal, you got, you're renegotiating all the pension things. There's a lot of potential for legal there as well.
So you've done math on this then to get to this,
It was,
to some degree?
I picked a number, you know, based on
Yep.
that.
Okay.
I mean, we've only got 50,000 this year, and I think it's way too low.
Yeah.
I'm scrambling, trying to find.
What are we year to date? That number is blank in here.
Yeah, I'm trying to grab from everywhere else that I can find to not hit that.
Usually
Yeah.
we save that to really the last month.
But you're overexpended in legal already, and
Yeah, I understand.
we've still got February, March, April,
5
5 months,
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
so.
Any further discussion?
I make a motion that we accept the contingency budget of $250,000 as submitted.
I'll second
Jason?
Is it wise for us to be showing our cards like this to 4 different bargaining units?
Well, we're going to actually bargain with bargaining units, and we don't know what the result will be.
Right. But they're gonna now know what we're playing with.
No, they're not.
So you don't think that, okay, that's fine. You go, I think that's a bad idea, but I think we're telling them how much money we're prepared to spend.
So how would you like to see?
No, I disagree. I disagree. I think we're covering ourselves, and I think when you get into negotiations, they give you their proposal, and you give them your proposal, and then you go at it. And if you can't agree, you go to mediation, then you go to arbitration. And if you go to arbitration, the judge can only choose either your offer or their offer. And if they look at that and they come in high, then the judge is going to choose our offer. So we're going to negotiate.
So you're angling for arbitration.
No, I'm telling you the process, Jason.
I know the process.
Well,
But-
then I will rest my case.
I think that is a bad idea.
I understand
So what do you
it's a
think
bad
would be
idea,
good?
but that's okay.
I don't-
I think it's a good idea.
What would you do otherwise, Jason?
I wouldn't put all of the money we're prepared to spend in one place so that the bargaining units have an actual opportunity to take a peek at how much we're planning to spend. I think that is hazardous. I think that Bob's point about arbitration is correct, except for we have a very healthy fund balance, which a judge or an arbitrator
Well,
will also
are
take a
you
look at.
telling the unions what to say when they come to negotiations right now?
They're smarter than I am.
Oh, so they'll know what you've just said.
Oh, yeah.
So why did you say it?
Bob, it's right there on the page. You know,
Okay.
anybody that is incredibly easy to see.
Further discussion?
Are there other places we could tuck this money in,
Yeah, they already know it.
in pieces?
It's on the monitor. But Jason, where would you put the money?
I would not put it there, and I would not put it all in one place.
Okay, where would you put the money?
I would put it in lines that are a little bit more discretionary and that are a little more fungible over the course of the fiscal year.
Did you name some of them?
Well, for example, what's the increase in health insurance?
The increase in health insurance, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm thinking it's about 13%. Is that, Gail?
So here's the deal, to your same point, if I tell you where to put it, then that's
Why
also
bother?
going to be
All right,
on
there you go.
digital reporting.
Why bother?
So, further discussion?
Well, yeah, if in fact, if we can, you know, parts of this into places where you know where it is, and can get it legally, then I think Jason's right, it's a good way to do it, so that it doesn't all show up in one place, because, again, as he said, if you got it on one place and people can look at it, they're gonna say, they got $4 million that they're going to,
It's open-handed poker.
yeah, sure.
Well, it's true, but at least we're giving the public and our residents an honest portrayal of what our budget looks like, and I think that's more important than trying to be deceptive about it. People could misread it. One way we could handle it, I suppose, is to lower the contingency and then when we need the money, go after a supplemental appropriation for it, or not.
That builds in a budget problem in the out years. Because then, you know, you have to assume that we'll only be allowed to use a 2% budget. And so any added appropriation then would not be included in that 2% budget allocation. You're building yourself a hole there. And it's a hole that would grow year after year.
Well, we do it, last year we did 450,000, so we built a hole already.
But that wasn't on operating expenses.
It's true.
Operating expenses, one-time revenues, totally okay to tap the savings account. But from an operations standpoint, very risky.
Why? But with that hole we made that in the calling it revenue, because we got to come up with $450,000 worth of revenue next year somewhere, or tap the fund again, or raise taxes.
So you lost me. What's the 450 we're calling as revenue?
The money we took from the fund balance to reduce the reduce the mill rate last year.
Yeah, but that hasn't been, as far as I'm aware, that hasn't been used yet. Is that correct?
Not a penny.
No, it's not correct, or no, it hasn't been used?
No, it has not.
Hasn't been touched.
So that's not actually a hole yet.
Not
But the thing is the point is we need to watch what the approved general fund balance is, because that's what's gonna dictate if we had to go to 2% next year. You don't wanna short that, because then you create a bigger problem the following year then.
Right.
So I look at it that one, we should be looking, as we have, line by line through this whole thing, all through this, as what is the right thing to do for the town? And, you know, to put it somewhere, and quite honestly, it says contingency. I mean, contingency could be that we have a fire, we don't have enough insurance, and we gotta pay something. I mean, it's
Well,
not
that's
solely for that, it can be for anything. Contingency fund should be for whatever emergency or other expenses that are unaccounted for at this point in time, period.
It doesn't, Jason's concern, I think, is a good one, but it doesn't really tip our hand as to what that contingency is for. I guess what Charlie's saying, it could be for something else, other than just a negotiation.
I think you might as well leave it highlighted. You know,
Okay,
I mean,
well, I'll vote on it.
no, I'm not saying, I'm saying like, yeah, we should vote on it, but leaving that funding in there in contingency fund with that kind of an increase in that particular line, you might as well leave it highlighted when you start negotiations. I mean, it's gonna be that obvious.
But
Okay.
from my perspective, I wouldn't say that we would use all that money for negotiations. It should be for anything that comes up, that and everything else that is unaccounted for as an expense that we don't know. You know, we got people, we got equipment, we got a lot of things in this town that are in motion every day that could result in something that we need to do.
Do you agree, Jason, that it could well be that it's not all for negotiations? A contingency is a contingency.
So we have traditionally budgeted for contingency operations. Over time, that number has progressively dwindled in terms of what's been budgeted. When I first started, don't hold me to this number, but we budgeted something like 200,000. And over time, that has continued to erode to the point where, what is it now, 36,000?
No, 50.
It is 50?
Yeah.
There was also a point in time where we had a contingency fund and an emergency contingency fund because of the natural disasters we had to respond to and costs associated with that. So I just think, well, I think we should vote.
Okay, further discussion. All those in favor, or I'll entertain a motion.
No, we got a motion before.
We got a motion on the floor, is it second?
Yes.
All right, all those in favor? Steve?
Aye.
Okay.
Was that an aye from Steve?
No?
No?
Okay, it was Steve and I.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Capital improvement. Normally, We asked for the capital improvement fund to be about 3% of the budget.
So I move to approve a capital improvement budget of $1,225,913.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
Oh, is that what that number is? That's not,
Approximately,
It's just about 3%.
yeah.
you don't have the list of what's specifically in there. That
Um,
totals that up? Or-
No, I don't have it with me.
Yeah.
It's in your book.
We also,
You have the CIP.
Yeah,
this
that's
is one of those lines that we essentially block grant. The CIP committee makes the determinations on what projects to fund based on the funding available.
Right.
We don't line item this.
Yeah, I'll go along with it. I think,
This is right along the lines that Steve's saying all the time about how we need to invest in ourselves. That's exactly what this does.
okay, further discussion?
No, I just think at the end of the day, it's going to have to be a hard decision to reduce some of that, because that is discretionary.
Yeah, I think
For the
if-
most part, you know,
if-
I mean, there are things in there that are required, but a lot of it is discretionary. And, you know, like I said, at the end of the day, I think we're going to have to take that down, unfortunately.
I think if the budget fails the first time and we're well over the percentage, and it's 2% default, then eventually as we get close to it, we might have to look, that would be the Board of Finance, and we'll kind of have to do that.
So you don't think we should be, because we're going to be over that now.
Yes.
Okay, so I think at this point in time, we should look at some reduction there, because it is discretionary.
We are kicking a can down the road to the Board of Finance
And
by not doing something with it.
But that is, our role, as I talked about last week, our role is to put the budget forward from a policy perspective. Their role is to tell us if we can pay for it. So if that's what we think, if that policy of setting aside 3% for capital projects is one that we think is deserving of being honored, then we ought to do that. And they can decide whether or not that's fiscally where things ought to end up. That really is what their function is.
well,
But I mean, from, to say it's what our policy is, I mean, we don't have policies on information technology or any of this other stuff. So it's what I think the board feels that is correct at this point in time, that we should move on to the Board of Finance. That I feel that we've gone through, you know, every one of these boards, commissions, et cetera, pretty finely, and we've got a couple more to go through yet today, but we've made adjustments, and I think, you know, we're going to be over what's been accepted in the past, and as Andy says, you know, to kick this can down the road without us taking the approach that, you know, what's best physically for the town, and what will, you know, are the taxpayers going to accept. And again, that has the most discretion of anything we have.
maybe we should come back to this then. We have some other issues we haven't resolved yet.
Okay, then let's do that.
Okay, then I guess there's a motion on the floor, and it's been seconded.
So you need to withdraw it or do something.
I
We
think
either
we're-
need to vote on it or withdraw
Yeah,
it.
let's withdraw it.
Why are we not voting?
Okay, we'll vote. But then we can come back and re-vote, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I would, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
No.
Okay, I'll vote.
I'm opposed. I think
Okay,
we
so
should,
we're
we
voting
should work
down.
on that.
That's fine.
Okay, so what
Okay.
did you vote?
Hmm?
You two are against, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I broke the tie.
And you voted yes?
No, I voted no.
Okay.
Wow. I'd like to make a comment why I voted for it. Capital improvements are for the people of the town. Whatever we do in capital improvements is for the people here. Okay? It's for the people. Fixing parking lots, fixing our buildings, it's for the public. I don't think we have one parking lot in this town that's worth a nickel, in my opinion. Okay? And that's why I voted yes for it. It's for the people. We always seem to vote yes on stuff for the unions around here. I'm getting tired of it. I'm voting on stuff for the people. That's why I voted yes.
And we're gonna come back and vote again.
Okay?
And I just wanna see what the rest of it.
I want you to know why I voted yes.
Fair enough.
That's all.
Okay, so let's go on to debt service.
That's fixed.
That's fixed. That covers our
Nothing to get
principal,
discussed.
principal and interest for next year, so.
I move to approve a debt service department budget of $1,020,028.
Second.
Discussion?
That's a fixed number.
Yeah.
That's something we have to pay.
That's the credit card balance.
That's a credit card bill.
That's something that has to be done. You can't do anything about it.
Okay.
Any idea what this was 4 years ago or 3 years ago?
Yeah, we have, I don't have it in front of me, but we do have a graph of all that. I think
They did.
it's declined, I believe.
Yeah.
And then actually it declined, then last year it's going up. We're borrowing, we borrowed to fix the dam and the roads.
Yeah.
And so we've added
Modulars in the room.
modulars. So we're going to increase that.
But then you've got debt expiring in a couple of years too, that will drop that. So,
It'll even out, you think? Hard to say.
Ideally, as you pay off old debt, you add
You
new
want to
debt
add
to it.
new, so you'd be looking at.
So it's consistent.
Yeah, then there's going to be the high school roof that needs to be done.
Yeah.
That's some other big projects.
Okay.
A few years ago, we were retiring this debt at a greater rate than we were accruing new debt. And so that balance was dropping down.
Yes.
When did that change?
I think we paid off, did we pay off the water pollution control?
I don't know.
That was
I would
10 years ago.
have to.
I'm not so sure.
They were paying us $1.25 million a year for 20 years. And that expired, I think, my second year on the Board of Finance, which would have been 10 years ago.
We had our 2 years ago, our debt fell off quite a bit. I don't know what we were paying off.
That could have been the
bonds for.
sewer expansion on 140.
I think,
Might have been.
yeah.
I don't know.
Gail, do you see, is it going to drop off again because we're retiring debt in the
A
near
couple of
future?
years, you got a big drop coming in a couple of
We have.
years.
What is that going to be?
I'd have to
Just-
look at
just-
the, I want to say like 2-3 years from now.
Well, if we owe the money to people who loaned us money, we gotta pay the bill.
Okay.
You know, somewhere I heard that, I don't know, I heard it somewhere. I don't know where I heard it, but it's not good for us not to borrow money.
Right, it's bad for the bond rating.
It's bad for the bond rating. So,
Yep.
yeah, you might be nice and
Yes.
clean and not owe a dime to nobody, but it's not a good situation.
I understand that, yep.
Okay.
Okay, if no more discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right. What ones do we have open still?
410-100,
And after that, what's another one?
410, 500, 510, 200, 710, 200.
Yes.
You said 5, 10?
You know, these are the ones we have open. 410, 100, 410, 500, 410, 200, 510, 200, and 710, 200. There are 4.
Okay, so that is selectmen, treasurer,
Police.
police, and parks and rec. So which one do you want to look at?
Let's go in order.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. And the selectmen is, we didn't address it because we have a full-time economics employee, economic development employee. So the question is, do we want to, well, actually, could you give us a total of where we are now in the percentage to see?
About 8%.
It's almost 9.
Okay,
8.78.
okay. And the amount of money, what's the amount of money that increased it by?
1,337,444.
Yeah. So we have quite a bit to, if we want to take it down. So, okay. What do you want to do?
Well, I'm a big advocate of economic development professional. It's based on a number of things. I've said this before, but I'll just go back and review it. Back 4 or 5 years ago, when I was a member of the Economic Development Commission, I had the opportunity to go out and talk to our businesses in town, as well as talk to 3 towns who had economic development professionals. And they were Enfield, South Windsor, and Windsor. Every single one of the people I talked to said that East Windsor would be a non-factor in regional economic development until we got an economic development director, or whatever you want to call that, whatever the title is. And they gave good reason for it. Galligan in South Windsor and Burke in Windsor probably put it in a nutshell best of all. They were saying that they personally spend over between 30 and 50 nights or a year going to affairs that are have to do with people who are in economic development in our state, various organizations. They also spend a lot of time with the legislature, and they said they had access to the governor's office. And if indeed that's true, we can't compete. When I was on the Economic Development Commission, we really looked hard, needed direction. There were good people on that commission, but frankly, we're a bunch of amateurs. We can't go out and lobby with the legislature or with the governor's office effectively. We just don't understand where to go and who to talk to and so on. I recently talked to Matthew Galligan in South Windsor again, and I asked him and Jim Burke for a copy of their work statement, of their spec for the economic development professional. And Matthew asked me, you know, what are you looking for? And I said to him, I'm looking for someone who can beat your pants 4 out of 7 days a week. And he kind of laughed and he said, that's probably a good spec. And so what I've been trying to do is gather information so we're just not shooting in a barrel. We've been out talking to CCM, and they gave us information that has no value. I've talked to our assessor's office, and she's getting together information, which is my preferred way of getting it. I'm also have talked to the towns of South Windsor, Windsor, Enfield, Ellington, if I didn't say Windsor Locks, and Suffield. Those are our competition as I see it. And I've asked their assessors to give me information that is as follows. If they have an economic development professional, what do they pay them? What is their, from 2010 through 2016, which is the last year of record, what has been the growth in commercial grand list, residential grand list, and property grand list. They seemingly are very cooperative. I've got information in from South Windsor already, and the other people have promised to get me information. I will use that to check what Helen can give me out of the assessor's office. I would much prefer to have her give it to me because she's a professional and it has some credentials. If Andy Hoffman gets it, you know, at best, you know, it's the best I can get, and that doesn't really have any credentials. So what I'd like to be able to do is to tell you people that sometime soon I'm going to have information that will help to support this. Both Gallion and Burke told me that we should be expecting to pay between $80,000 and $90,000 for someone who could fill the job and do it well. I know we use Roger O'Brien to help us with specific issues, but we don't pay Roger enough hours to be effective in going out and seeking big projects. The town is ideally set up to bring in new business. We have the I-140 corridor, if you will, that could support some light businesses. Love to get somebody like up in Enfield. They're building a magnificent new medical building up there. That is probably worth $5 or $6 million. It's a beautiful building. South Windsor and Windsor, you see what they do with big box companies and the like. We have land along Route 5 and Route 140 that could be developed without affecting our rural environment of the eastern part of our town. And I think that maintaining its rural environment is a good thing. I really do. And I think that enhancing the downtown area of Warehouse Point is an important thing we should try to do. But along with that, we have to get ahead of the curve on getting an economic development professional in here. The casino is going to be a boom for our town when and if it happens. You know, we're going to do very well, but in order to support that and do a good job, once they start building and it becomes real, I think you're going to see some step up in the kind of companies that are interested in building and becoming part of the business community in East Windsor. And an aside that is kind of interesting, I talked to 20 companies in town, and almost to a single company, there might be one company that didn't like our town, but out of the 20 companies I talked to, about 19 of them like our town. They think it's a good location, they think the town treats them fairly, and they like us. That's something good. Now, if we could combine that with getting an economic development professional in here who could help bring in more companies that we can satisfy, it will make our opportunity that comes out of the casino even better. So that's the reason I want it. And we can't go into $10,000 or $15,000 And, you know, and I really don't know how qualified Roger is. I really don't, you know, I just, you know, he's always been cooperative and helpful and all that kind of thing. I'm not sure that he meets the spec that we need. We have a job description from 2 towns that we can meld together and put out a good job description to go seek the right kind of person. I'm sure, and I say this without having asked, that we could get Galligan and Burke to help us. I'm amazed at how cooperative those 2 people are. And, you know, they're our competition. And I'm going to get off my soapbox. But I really do believe that we should do that, and we should do it now, because we're in a position to position ourselves better.
What do you think about a half-time, a part-time? 19 hours a week or something
Yeah,
like that?
anything that we have that is substantial is better than what we have today. Roger, what was the last number? Is it 10,000 we're giving him this year?
Yeah, probably.
It got up to 15 one year, I think, but that's not enough.
No, you need somebody every.
You got to have somebody here. Now, let me just say this.
Excuse me, are
2 days a
we
week.
at the discussion stage already?
You mean as far as the motion? Well,
I don't want to get this.
Yeah, I may be talking to
I forgot where we were.
I guess I did too.
We're still chatting. We're still rolling.
Don't get me on the
He's still on his
soapbox.
Okay.
Position statement.
Huh?
He's still on his position statement.
Okay, but did we have a motion that we can
No.
talk now?
No.
Do we need to do that now?
well, I'm thinking that if we went with,
Why don't we just make the motion, then we can discuss it and then think about
we'll
that?
have to defeat it, I think.
What?
I think we might have to defeat the motion, maybe.
There wasn't one, was there?
No, but if you make one, you'll have to vote it
Depends on
down.
what kind of motion you make, whether you're going to defeat it or not. You know, go ahead and make a motion and.
Yeah, okay, I'll make a motion to, fund the economic development
Professional.
professional,
Full-time.
full-time for the 90,000.
I thought we liked ranges.
Hmm?
I thought we liked having ranges
Up
and
to.
not locked in numbers.
Up to.
Okay, can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Why don't we put it between 80 and 90, because that's the number we had. Okay, now we can go through that.
Bob, you were bringing up a
Well, I was
part-time person.
thinking, if we didn't want to spend that much money, we could maybe get one for like 2 days a week. If we go to 2 meetings
Mhm.
a week, maybe put in, say, 16 hours a week. That would save us maybe in pension and health insurance. So we could probably do it for a lot less, like, and I don't know how much an hour you pay them. We could put like 40,000 into that.
Philosophically, let me just say what I think about that. If you get a part-time person, you're going to get, I think, a person who is retired. There's pluses and minuses about that. If it's a retired, good person, they know where to go and who to talk to. The downside of that is they probably will not be a candidate for the full-time job because they're on their way out the door. They're not looking to knock down doors. So the sooner you can get to a full-time, good person, I think, the better our town is going to be.
Okay.
But we shouldn't be shooting at 10,000.
No.
That's a nothing.
My thought, am I okay now?
Sure.
Yeah, my thought, I know it's, we're looking at hard numbers here tonight, and, where we're gonna all up and everything, but I agree with Andy 100%. We need to have someone in that role, or we're never going to progress and get, a larger grand list through some real good companies that are gonna be here and spend some money to put up buildings. So that being said, having this hard choice, I'm thinking is a possibility that one, I don't buy putting somebody in on a part-time basis to do that. I think that's wasting money, that in order to do this correctly, it is full-time plus, because it's making connections, it's going with people, you know, there's a whole host of things associated with being a rainmaker, and it's the connections. So, at worst case, I'm thinking that if we were to budget for a little more than a half a year at 50,000, 45 to 50,000, that would take effect in the second half of the year. That's give a little bit of time to hire somebody, get that spec'd out, and then we could let them loose, and then you'd have somebody full-time doing this in the second part of the year, and then come the following year, we'd like to get the funding for the full year. And meanwhile, in this first part of the year, including the time from now until July 1st, that I thought about this a lot, and we need to reach out and, you know, be glad Andy and the EDC, we need to reach out to national realtors development companies, not anybody that's local on a commercial basis, that does national work. And this is where we are, this is what we want to do. We'd like to get recommendations from you. You know, if they came up with a game plan where they'd like an exclusive or something, you know, maybe that would work, that they would know. See, these people know when GE, they know all these companies and what their plans are. They have their ear to the ground. They talk with the real estate people from those companies all the time. That's what it's all about. And I think if we did that as the preliminary, we might get something from that. That might work some, but it'll also give us some direction as to what I think, how to point this new person, what we think we should do, what kind of businesses we should be willing to come here. I think we gain knowledge from it, not only, and perhaps that might be an avenue we wouldn't do the EDC person, but it's in my head we would still do it, you know. But that's my thought and how we can afford to do that for this coming fiscal year. I don't know what anybody else thinks.
I have one additional point, which I think is kind of significant. This is a very unique position. Every time this person brings in taxable assets, they are offsetting their wages. If this person that we hire is able to bring in something like $3.5 million worth of taxable assets in a year, they have paid their salary. They are revenue neutral. And that's a very unique position. We hire people to do work, and they're very important to our organization because they make it run. But if you can bring in commercial development, they do not send kids to school. The money drops to the bottom line. If you bring in residential development at our tax rate and at the 2.2 children per household of childbearing age people, with our town expense for education of about $20,000 a year, that house has to be over $1.5 million of taxable assets in order to break even on that. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have residential development. That's an important part. It's a mix of what we should do here in town. It's a mix of what every town should do. But the commercial development is unique. It has, if we get it, it really, except for infrastructure, it places few demands on our resources, and it does deliver money to the bottom line.
In another way to look at this, and we have to help legally how we do this, but that we pay a bonus for getting a certain tax base within the town as an incentive. And maybe we do that with the person for the first 6 months with an understanding there's multiple ways to work around this and through this, to have somebody doing something, whether it's through the commercial, what I said, or doing it in that fashion. I mean, the state pays out bonuses, right? to people.
No,
They did.
not in the 15 years I've worked there.
Yeah, it's been in the news frequently about bonuses being paid to.
I can tell you, I'd love to get a bonus. I don't see it happening.
Oh, Jason, they probably give you one you didn't know.
No, Charlie, that's not how it
Yeah,
works.
but they do, they have paid bonuses to people.
No, they don't.
Okay.
Well, how about, you haven't said anything, Steve. What do you
Must be the
think?
fake news, Jason.
I'm telling you, people don't get bonuses. There are some employees who get longevity, but that's phased.
No, I know what that is, but I was surprised myself when I said that.
Do you want to add anything, Steve, or?
Well, we're always penny pinching and we don't get what we should for our dollar. You hire part-time people, you're getting part-time.
I don't think we should hire part-time.
No, I don't either.
I like your idea.
We should
So
hire.
if we were to hire this person, what would they use as their work plan? You know, are they going to be relying on the POCD to determine where they should be looking to incentivize commercial growth? Is that the thought? I mean, how do you envision the smart growth aspect of it to be incorporated?
Say it again, please, Jason.
So are you familiar with the concept of smart growth? Smart growth essentially says that you're supposed to build where you can, and you're supposed to leave well enough alone where you should. For example, you wouldn't put a Walmart across the street from Charlie. That would be a stupid place for a Walmart. However, there would be some areas in town that are more appropriate for commercial growth than others. So how would you kind of rein in, what I don't want to see happen is I don't want to see all of the available farmland along the Connecticut River turned into a strip mall.
I think there are areas, Jason, that are kind of ideal, if you will, in our town for this. Route 5 and Route 140. I think...
Up to a point, yeah. Up to a point, yeah.
Up to a point. I believe off of Route 5 that we could have, side roads that go in as a semi-industrial development, like our industrial park we have now. So I believe we have adequate room for that. We may not be able to attract a big box company. We may not want to. And that's what this person, and as Charlie said, go talk to some commercial realtors and find out what they think. Because they're in a business, but the same business, but kind of in a different direction. I think it's incumbent on us to write a good work statement for this person if we hire him. We know what we want in our town. We can put fences around that kind of thing. I don't want a Walmart next to my little over 55 community. It's not what I want. But what I would like to do is I would like to develop the Route 5 corridor. The state could help us with that if they made it a little wider and things like that. When I talked to Larry Tribble, the one thing that kind of impressed me, two things I'll tell you. He said that people exiting his facility drive all the way down to the Bissell Bridge to get on Route 91 because going north on Route 5 is a terrible pain in the butt. That's terrible. They're driving 5 miles or 6 miles to avoid 3 miles, okay? That shouldn't be. That's because we do not have a well laid out Route 5 today. But the casino may be some impetus to making that better. If we had, large companies or companies come in here with good taxable assets, that would help us do that also. Something that Larry Tribble said, and I don't know whether he really meant it or not. I said, Larry, you own a lot of property along Route 5. Would you be willing to work with the town to give us that property if we gave you other property off of Route 5? I said, parking lots are parking lots. You don't have to be on Route 5 to have a parking lot. And he thought for a minute and he said, yeah, I would. I'd be willing to think about that. in addition to that, and I won't know the fellow's name, who built the mansions? What's his name?
Oh, that's Chapman.
Chapman. Chapman, a brother of that Chapman, owns a big chunk of land over on Route 5, east of Route 5. Big chunk of land, 100 acres or more. I called him and asked him if he would be willing to partner with the town of East Windsor in the development of that property. His answer was that he is currently building apartments in Enfield. And at some point in time, when that project is finished, he planned to turn his attention to East Windsor. But he said, if we could establish a partnership, I'd be willing to listen. So there are two people who own lots of land and who apparently have financial means to do big things that would have some interest, don't let me overblow that interest, but some interest in working with us. And again, I'll get on my soapbox again. Again, I think you have to have this economic development guy or girl pull this stuff together, because we aren't capable of doing it. You know, I loved working in the Economic Development Commission, but we were going nowhere. We didn't know how to do the job, and I got frustrated with that. I hate to sit around doing nothing, and I was, you know, except for going out and talking to businesses, I was not an effective member. I just didn't know what to do. I could go down to the meetings in Hartford and listen to people who know what they're doing, and get a little bit of knowledge, but I wasn't going to come back and make a difference in town.
So that's the other thing, is that I'm not convinced that we are availing ourselves as fully as we should be of member organizations that we already pay dues to, like Metro Hartford Alliance.
I agree.
And I've been to a couple of their events in my professional role, and there's opportunity there.
There is indeed.
And I understand, I think Lori goes to some of those things.
I went with her once, and I went myself one time. And they're good meetings, but there's a gun club there. There are the people who know each other, who talk to each other, and they have insight into opportunities. And I was standing around shaking hands with people and saying hello with a drink in my hand, and I didn't know who the hell I was talking to, and I didn't know what to do with the information they were giving me.
Yeah, I think, like to Jason's question of what direction would we give them and how would we give them, I think between the Board of Selectmen and this economic development professional, we could determine what he would be doing. And he would determine a lot of it too, like bringing it to us. And like you're saying, there are professional organizations that we're a member of, but we don't really have anybody to go there and make it work. So I think if we could afford a full-time economic development professional, that would be good.
The question, I think, Bob, is can we afford not to? I'd like to spin the coin the other way. We really, at some point in time, will have to do that. We will have to do
I like
that.
Charlie's idea of starting that halfway through the year.
I do too.
And then we can, yeah.
There's prep time
Yeah.
required. And when we get that prep time done and we get our statement of work, job description done, and we're happy with it, we should go out and seek a person full-time. And by that time, the casino may also have some money that they make available to us. It would help to, with these wages. I see this as being something that might well deal with the impact of the casino. The casino doesn't want to have bad things around it. We don't want to have bad things around it. We want to have complementary things around it. So this may be a temporary thing. And as I say, I just want to say it one more time, this is a very unique position where people can actually pay their wages by being good at what they do.
Okay.
One of the things, it's not only Route 5, but one of the things that we've overlooked for a long, long time, and maybe forever kind of thing, because it's kind of hidden, is that Now, we're a town who has an active rail line. And the value of that rail line that comes up to crop production and all the way down through the rest of East Windsor, through that whole area, I mean, that's pretty valuable to a company that, you know, relies on rail to bring stuff in and out, lumber, and, you know, lots of things that are not capitalized on that. And what other town can say that? You know?
Okay, I think we'd have to change the motion now, if we're gonna have to, how's it burn?
You can amend it.
Okay.
I'd like to, did you make a motion, Shelley?
No.
You made the motion.
Anyone can amend a motion.
Okay, I'd like to amend the motion to reflect that the amount for the economic development director will be between $45,000 and $50,000 for a full-time person, taking effect in the second half of the fiscal year.
Okay, just a second.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
The discussion is on amending the motion. Just so you know, there's a motion to amend the motion, and then you have to vote on the motion.
Okay. Discussion on amending the motion. Okay, all those in favor of amending the motion?
Aye.
Okay. So now we can discuss the amended motion. And is there further discussion on the amended motion? All those in favor?
Well, I do think, and I don't remember who brought it up, I don't remember who brought it up, but the casino coming in does also provide financial opportunity. And I think that we ought to be taking a look at the funding that will bring as a means of
I agree.
paying for this, rather than, I would rather use somebody else's money than municipal money.
And I agree 100%, I really do. I think once we get this thing started, and if the casino happens, and I sure hope it's going to, we could take this out as a line item in our normal budget, and I think without stretching at all, we could fund it out of the impact, $3 million a year impact money. So this may be a temporary, this may well be a temporary thing.
But we need a start point.
Yes, starting, yeah.
Okay, further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Jason?
No,
All right. Now, we'll move on to treasurers.
Well, do you want to vote on the total?
Oh, yeah.
They're supposed to discuss it.
So I would entertain a motion. I move that we approve the amended selectmen total to $339,672.
Second.
339?
Three.
$339,672.
Oh, I see, I was looking at the wrong line. I see.
All those in
So
favor?
what's driving that increase? There's the EDC person.
The 50,000 right there. There's a $6,000 community outreach. That was the zero before.
Yep.
3,900 additional used equipment.
Looks like somebody's getting a copy machine. So in the 5,300 line, or 53,000 line, is the only thing that's in there, is that the EDC person?
2% on existing. 2% increase on
And
existing
salaries.
unaffiliated.
3. Okay, is there further discussion? And is there a second? Can somebody second that?
Yes, we did.
We need a second?
Nope, Charlie did.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Jason?
No.
Now, treasurer. And what we've done is increased the salary of the treasurer. And that's reflected in that full-time salary. So I entertain a motion to.
So what is the salary now?
We haven't, we made her an offer of $104,000 salary.
That was the Board of Finance recommendation?
The Board of Finance was not exact. Dave Moore asked me, told me how to negotiate. And that's where we are now. It's not finalized, we have a contract, I want to talk to her tomorrow.
They look like that may be a different story.
I would say not. Is there minutes of that? Well, it might have been in executive.
I think we're in
session.
executive session, Bob.
Yeah.
I think we're in executive session.
There was a low of
But
100,000, there was, well, that's executive
Yeah.
session, so let's not.
that's why my head was
discussion. Okay. I'll make a motion. We approve the proposed budgeted amount of $233,407 for the treasurer. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
That's the only change in that budget is the new treasurer number.
Yes.
And that also is more than she was making at her former job where she's no longer employed.
$800,
Where she's no longer employed.
where she's no longer employed.
So my perspective is I don't believe that we're negotiating from a position of strength there.
Okay, you can vote against it, Jason. Further discussion? All those in
I
favor?
think it's one of the most important positions in the town, if not the most important. Someone with managing and handling the money. That we have somebody that's perfectly qualified, meets all the credentials, is a current licensed CPA, and will be an asset to the town, and discuss a number of things that she was doing in that town, and I believe that we'll have financial benefits from that alone that will supersede any increase in where we are.
Okay, further discussion?
I also believe that when we talked to her, that she was going to bring kind of a new perspective. She'll bring some new ideas to the town, which I think are very valuable to help us progress, go bigger and better. So I like the idea.
I believe we're overpaying, but I also think if we were willing to pay $104,000, we would not have gone through a year plus of having lost our former treasurer.
And what is she getting at Manchester, Jason?
She's getting more than that, but that's what she
Right.
wanted to stay.
It's like 130,000 with the towns, the big towns around us, like 130 grand for one of these people. And like I've said, we gotta pay up if we're gonna get some decent people here. There's no more of this $50,000, $60,000 stuff anymore.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying I think that
But that's been the mentality around here, not to pay anything. I sat here and I listened to her. She's smart.
Mhm.
Did you hear her?
I did.
You did. She's smart, and I'm for her. And I asked her, my thing was, how long you plan on staying? She plans on staying here a long time,
So until she retired, that's what she told me.
so.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nope.
All right, police.
And when you look at that, that is so misleading. 0.99%.
You know, that's because salary increases, if they are gonna occur for next year, are not in here because we're negotiating.
It's not in there yet.
That's, we talked about that when we talked about contingencies.
The only salary increases for this year are the chief and deputy chief, is that correct?
That's correct.
In the current year,
The
next year.
In the next year's budget also.
So we're looking at two people that we're talking to about pays.
Wow, they're, and it's in their contract, so we really can't change that.
But the others will have,
We have not yet negotiated the others'
Right.
contract.
But that will not occur in fiscal 18-19, right?
The increase will occur
Yeah.
in 18-19, we just haven't
For the
determined
rest, for the rest of
at the
the,
moment.
for the
What-
rest of the force?
When does the contract expire?
June 30th.
June 30th, so it would be retro to July 1 to whenever that contract is ultimately adopted.
For the other officers?
Yes.
okay, well, I'm gonna make a motion that we budget the police department's budget at current year's budget of $3,331,142, which I believe that's the number. And that is to include any salary changes that occur from any negotiations. So all taken in, that would be the number.
So you're saying that,
He wants to give him this year's appropriation again.
what do you mean? I don't understand.
No increases.
You want zero?
No, no
Did you
increase.
say 330,
$3,331,000.
three, oh, okay, that's why.
Yeah.
The approved 17-18 budget.
Okay. I think we have to give the chief and the deputy,
Well,
I don't know, really,
I'm saying that, when I say that, well, why don't we get to a discussion, then I
Can
can
I have
give
a
my
second
reason.
first?
Second.
all right.
Okay, that they get their increase, but the bottom line is, they have to work at getting it, whatever their spend is got to be the $3,331,000. And as I said from the previous meeting when I went through this, and the information I ran through of surrounding towns and what the pays are, it's substantially over what other towns are. And this should have been addressed in previous administrations because it's so far out of range now. We're gonna end up with, when you get to pensions and so forth, this is compounding every year, and it's gonna be, where it'll be totally, we'll end up being like the state. I don't wanna be there.
Okay,
And that's why I think
understand
we
what you're
should,
saying.
we have it at that number, and the number that you have to change it around in that the admin line gets theirs, then it comes out of the other lines,
Okay. All right, I understand what you're saying.
okay? And I think that it's unfortunate. I think they're doing right things, and, you know, appreciate the work that they're doing. It's just that the cost is far above surrounding towns, far above. And it's not even close. And I think we have to do something there to keep ourselves in the game, to be able to afford pensions and so forth for all these people down the road.
Any further discussion?
So as we go through pension negotiations, we will save more than that per year.
You will have a period of time, though, where you're funding both, like funding at, I kind of think, and the new treasurer also thought that pension costs are going to go up.
If we,
maybe
with the
this way,
DC. But, yeah. But
because you're
the-
still funding
yeah.
the other as well.
But the police are not. Well, the
We're
clericals-
still in active negotiation. Actually, we're not even in active negotiations with them yet. But if what has been the case with other pension negotiations, if that pattern holds true, there will be appreciable savings.
Okay. Further discussion?
Yeah, Gail, if we do what Charlie said with the impending increases in salary, what percentage are we affecting in their $3 million budget?
You mean if you level funded it?
If they level funded it, what kind of a hit is that to their?
$32,000.
Yeah, about 32.
32,000.
32,000.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Out of this, but you're not taking into effect future increases as
Yeah.
well that
Because it
we
compounds.
do.
Compounds.
Yeah.
That's, I could see that.
I agree, you know, this is a very small number out of a big number. I don't have a lot of experience in public funding, but I do have a fair amount of experience in the private sector. The company I worked for used to have a funding source. It was called IRD, Independent Research Development. And they used to zero budget that every year. So it didn't make any difference what you did last year. You went in and defended the number you were going after this year. And you could count on getting hit for 5% or 10%. And when you cried a lot, our Vice President of Technology used to say, "Andy, go away, put on your big boy pants and fix it." And I fixed it. And I think that the chief, the deputy chief are good managers. I believe with this small amount of money that they'll find a way of making it happen. And so I agree with Charlie. We should make this a flat number for this year.
Okay, further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? I'll-
Aye.
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 I'll go with it too. Aye.
I'm opposed.
So where are you gonna take that out of?
Yeah.
Officer
Well, that's
That's a
up to the
great
chief.
question, guys.
I
No,
don't-
no, no. We can't do, we don't block grant them. It's a
Well,
line
that's
item
okay.
budget.
Maybe it's a great question, but we passed that it's gonna be $3,331,142. We
Sure.
passed that.
So now we need to get to that.
you want to know which line we're going to, what lines we're going to take it out.
Yeah,
Right.
that's our obligation.
Okay. I suggest we take it out of overtime.
No.
No?
That's gonna come back. You know, overtime is overtime, and if it's needed, somehow it'll get approved.
Okay. That was my suggestion.
Then it comes out of officers' salaries.
That's contractual.
It's not contractual how many you have to have,
Okay.
okay?
So we're about to get potentially a casino, and you're gonna reduce staffing levels.
But that's a whole other issue.
That's totally different.
That's-
We're talking about this budget.
Isn't that gonna come out of the impact fund? I
We
agree.
haven't done that yet.
Hmm?
We haven't done that yet.
Oh, I know that. There are a lot of things we haven't done, Jason.
I know
But
that too.
but if there is a need for additional fire, additional police, we're gonna deliberate over that and decide what we think is right. And the chief and deputy chief are gonna come in and tell us what they think they need. And we're gonna listen, and we're gonna talk to them, and we're gonna finally come to some point where we agree that that's what they're gonna get. So, we're not affecting that.
So staffing levels are actually determined the way the state of Connecticut determines staffing levels for police departments, the way municipal police departments are supposed to do it, is using FBI crime analytics, which indicate, and there's an actual ratio, and if it was earlier in the day, I would be able to tell you what it was. It's like, one police officer for every, is it 700 people? Do you remember what the FBI stats are? That's how they base what staffing levels are supposed to be, is using the potential, or the specific crime reports from the FBI, which indicate if you use those and apply those on a per capita basis, we are not overstaffed here in town. We're just not.
How do you know that?
That's the FBI standards.
No, but you don't even know what they are.
I don't remember what they are. I know they exist. You didn't even know they existed, Charlie.
Yeah, I do, because I have the numbers of what the crime rate is. I went
Not
through
the
that
crime
last
rate, the staffing level projections. It's actually a metric that's determined by the FBI.
time. Okay, they didn't come with any data, period, okay?
I think this is nothing but punitive.
It's not punitive whatsoever. It's about money. It's that we are way, way over in salaries compared same positions in other towns.
The
And
problem
that
with that,
includes the chief and the deputy chief.
the problem
But
with
they've
those
already gotten their raises.
statistics that you put forward is you didn't take into consideration at all years of service for any of those officers. There's a step and grade system that applies
And
here.
there's, listen, it does in other towns as well.
Yeah, I'm
Okay?
saying, you don't know how many years of service you were looking at, so you were not comparing apples to apples. You were comparing
Jason,
apples to
Jason.
bricks.
Jason, read the numbers.
I read the numbers, they're wrong.
Oh, the numbers that they said how much you're getting paid at 94,000, 90,000.
Charlie, I'm saying you did not
94,000.
compare apples to apples. You compared two different statistics and drew a conclusion that if A, then B, when that's not the case.
Okay. Jason, no, Jason, you don't know what I compared. You don't know what I looked at.
So what's the average number of years a sergeant has under their belt here in town?
I didn't bring that data with me.
What's the comparison to
I
that
don't
same
have that with
position
me.
in Enfield?
Do you know what it is?
I don't know that, and that's what
Okay.
I'm saying, is your
Okay,
numbers
but I
don't
already went
consider
through
that.
that. Jason, it's not punitive. It's about being physically responsible to the town of
Fiscally.
East Windsor, okay? There's got to be some responsibility that we have. That's why we're here. Otherwise, we'd be home.
So actually,
Okay.
it's the Board of Finance's role to be fiscally responsible. It's ours to be responsible from a policy standpoint.
Jason, you want to fight about everything rather than getting to trying to do what's right for the town. Policy. There's no policy about any of this stuff in here that we've gone through and made changes on. There's no policy. Where is it? Show it to me.
Well, let's get out.
I want to say one
Yeah,
thing here.
right.
Okay, I'm very quiet, but when I want to say something, I want to say it. From what I understand, we have more police officers per 1,000 people than any other town around us. This is what I understand. So why is that?
Where do you understand that from?
Well, Jason, your numbers were 700.
I'm not correct in that. I fully admit that, but there's a ratio that's published annually by the FBI, which is used statewide to determine adequate staffing levels. The whole police commission is here. You guys can ask any one of them if I'm incorrect in saying that.
No, you aren't correct.
I am not correct?
No, you are.
I am correct.
But
Plus the
nobody in the
location.
police commission knows the ratio.
I haven't asked.
Off the top of my head, no, I don't.
Plus the locations, geographic location of where East Windsor is and the highways, and there's different ratios that go up as a police commissioner. Thank you.
The whole socioeconomic part of it plays a role. It's just like reading stats on crime stats.
Everything plays a role, okay?
Okay, let's
There's
not-
highways in every town.
All right, let's get this done. You want to take it out of officer's salary, fine.
I think that's where you have to pick it up.
Okay, so then make a motion. Or I'll make a motion. Let me make a motion.
I don't know what that amount is. What's the amount? 32?
31, or 32,965.
All right, I'll move that we reduce the officer's salary line by $32,965. Okay, can we see the total at the bottom there? Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so now that we go to.
I'm opposed.
Opposed, sorry. Now we go to Parks and Rec, 710-200.
Do you want to approve the bottom one?
I think we already did.
We did.
Melissa had to go to the Board of Ed. She should be back any minute. If you could maybe skip her and come back to her. She could be here to answer any of your questions.
It might be the last one we have to do.
Be done.
And Public Works is done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't we have questions on town property?
And roads or something you had questions on.
Gail, was there anything else highlighted in yellow or orange? I thought there was on town property. That'd be fine with that.
You have to do it.
Oh, you
Yes.
know what, I
Told
went back
you.
and double checked salaries, that's what we were double checking, and I was in error on that, so.
Okay, so
And not
the,
prior, so we didn't have not done public works. It's a 4.65%.
4.07?
For bottom line.
So I
I
moved
think
to
I had
approve the,
11% when I
yes,
summarized
I remember.
before, so.
I move to approve the Public Works Department budget in the amount of $897,680.
I'll second.
You're missing somebody.
Yep, you might want to wait
Yeah, we can
an
wait for a vote.
opportunity to hear your
Gail, the $790, $270 includes the new pay scale?
It does. The only that's not is Joe, who's the supervisor, and Teresa, who is their secretary, who's in clerical. Those two bargaining units have been set.
They are going to be additional costs. I think we've been all over this before, have we not? The only thing we had question about
Well, yeah.
was the wages.
Right. I'll say.
thing that was different here is Gail has now put in the wages at the 790, 270 level.
I made an error. I had an 11% increase. I don't know where I got that number, but
Oh, yeah.
I corrected it.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that,
We made it second.
oh, is there one?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're just waiting for you to get it posted.
Second.
Nope, we did that. We just need a vote.
So if there's no more discussion, we'll vote on the $897,680 for public works. All in favor?
Aye.
And you're in favor, right?
Yes.
You made the motion.
I voted yes, and I made the motion.
I just want to
I
be sure.
seconded it.
Just want to be sure. Thank you so much.
I got a question here.
Okay.
I wasn't here at the last go around, okay?
By the way, good job in the storms.
Which one are you looking
These
at?
things are miserable.
I'm looking at the-
I'm really ready for spring.
Did you get any added help in that deal?
Thank
How
you,
are you
though.
making out with your snow budget?
So you're looking at the highlighted yellow?
We're about at the end of our material, but we have enough to get through the year.
No.
And overtime is probably gonna be over a bit. I mean, we still have to get to,
Guys during
I
the
mean,
day.
winter's the bulk of it, but we still have to get to June 30th, and if, you know, trees come down in the road overnight, crazy crap like that, you know, but we're,
It's not right.
I go out early in the morning, and if I feel the boys don't need to come in, I keep them home.
20?
What's an average snowstorm cost you? You know, like the 3 we just recently had, what do they cost for storm roughly?
I haven't really even had a moment to sit down
Never pass.
and think about the material we've even put down. And that's a big part of it, because even if we're working during our normal 8-hour day, we're going out a couple of times and putting material down. And remember, when we do that, it's just, you know, 2 weeks ago, we worked right through the night. It was miserable.
I don't know if they have one or they currently have two. I don't know. I know we're funding two.
I think you guys do a good job.
Thank you.
You know where house plans.
And you can talk about capital improvement, if you want to go back and talk about
We didn't fund
that.
them at all.
Yeah, I know who did.
Want to do that? Go back to the capital improvements, that was one that was an
Okay, all right.
was an outlier there.
Yeah. So,
So you're at 8.3%.
and what do we have in here for insurance?
Got a 14.9%.
We might be able to reduce that a little. Any on the, like the dental? You would? Hi.
We're gonna insure 27 teeth.
No, but we're actually, well.
I'm just kidding.
I know they
The other
go
five
through
are on.
dental implants, I know that.
So we could go to, where are we?
Well, we're at
8.3.
8.3. I think, I mean, we could reduce capital improvement a little to make it look nice, like 7.9, but I don't think that's significant, so I think that's our budget.
Well, you say you can't reduce it very much. Last year, it looks like it was 781,000,
Oh, yeah, we could,
right?
yeah.
And then this year, it's in there for $1.2 million. And again, that's primarily discretionary. There's some things I'm sure that, everything is needed. I understand that, but we're trying to get to where people will accept it. I think we should go with it, just a flat $1 million. Take out $125,000.
Okay.
And we'll see what that looks like.
Yeah.
Take down about 6.
6.82.
Okay.
That's what you were talking about, $1 million for that
Correct.
department.
Do you want to make a motion on that?
Now I'll make a motion to approve the capital improvement budget at $1 million for next year.
Second?
Okay, discussion.
Yeah, I have some. I don't really understand that budget. You know, I've got the sheet and all that kind of thing, but how do we get a better handle on that next year? Kathy came in and she gave us a sheet and a number, and, you know, we kind of asked a few questions that she wasn't prepared to answer, and that was unfair, because we didn't prepare her for the fact we were going to ask some questions about it. If I go to the CIP committee meeting, if I ask questions, I'm going to be disrupted. But I do want to understand. I don't understand this year.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, you know, Lynn's got a bunch of money in for some capital equipment. I don't even know what that is. And I don't know whether he needs it. You know, I suspect he needs it because he doesn't waste money. But that's all I know about it. The police department's in for 2 automobiles. The chief sent me a nice summary sheet. Their automobiles are well cared for, and I look at those things and I just kind of drew a couple of small curves. The new cars, except for those that are on warranty, have the same kind of maintenance as the older cars. So the older cars are not in bad shape. They are not taking off like that, and it's not obvious to me that they need to be replaced. Another year, I'd like to be smarter, and I'm not. I don't know how to do that.
I'm hearing what you're saying, and I know that there was questions all along. Then maybe we ought to have a joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen and the CIP committee and talk about it.
Yeah, why don't we do that as
Yeah.
separate?
I'd really like to do something like that, where they come in and tell us, you know, and even, you know, bring the chief, bring Lynn, have him tell us why he needs a new bucket loader, if that's what he needs
Well,
this
I
year.
get the whole concept too of, because I know that, like, a lot of ongoing things, like, we buy 2 police cars every year. That's like an ongoing thing. It's not a, but yet in another sense, it's a capital improvement. I can see putting away money to buy something once every 5 years, or putting away money to do something. So I'm a little confused about annual things coming out of the CIP, but maybe there's some kind of compromise or halfway between the two. We might be able to improve the process. But then again, I can see the concept of putting money aside in a separate fund for non-reoccurring capital improvements.
I've talked to Kathy about it, and she's certainly willing to work with us to do what we think we need to better understand.
Yeah.
And, you know, just going back to those police cars, because that's all I know. They're 44K apiece. That's probably not a bad price for good automobiles. But as I say, the deputy chief sent me a summary of maintenance records on the vehicles that they have, and they do a darn good job of maintaining them. And if I look at them, you know, there are no automobiles in that fleet where the maintenance records show that it's going like that. That's the one I'd want to replace. And I'm going to say this, and I think I've said it before. I have two very old cars. One of them is a 2002 Buick Regal. That car's maintenance is not high. I go in and change the oil, I put new tires on it, and that car runs damn well. I'm not going to replace that car. And I don't know the mindset or the essential information that goes into a decision to replace 2 police vehicles every year. I don't know Lynn's maintenance record on whatever he wants to replace, if it's a bucket loader or whatever it is. But I'd like, and he has this information, I would like to have him show me that the maintenance on equipment X has now started to go north on them, and it really should be replaced. Because he has that information, and like I say, I think the people in charge of our departments are good money managers. I really do. But we're here in a position to understand. That's our job. And I'm not very proud of the fact that we're going out with over whatever the number is. What is it, Gail?
6.82%.
What is it?
6.82%.
6.82. We're going to dump 6.82 on the finance committee. Maybe that's good. I don't know, but in my business before, it wouldn't have been good.
No.
Somebody would have kicked my butt for doing that. End of my statement.
Well, I don't know. I think we've kind of done our job, and we're waiting for Melissa a little bit. We're waiting for Parks and Rec.
You've got a motion on the floor. Are you going
To,
to do it at one motion? You were like,
Oh.
I didn't
I
have
think
to
we
vote.
voted on it.
Did you guys vote?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We did not vote.
Okay. And it's been
Moved and
moved and
seconded and
seconded,
discussed.
so we discussed. So all those in favor of having the final budget figure for capital improvement to be $1 million, say aye.
Aye.
Did I hear 4 or did I hear
Yeah.
5?
you
Aye.
heard 5.
You heard 5?
So if we could do Parks and Rec tomorrow, if somebody wanted to add it to the agenda, we want to add it to.
Let's do that.
Bob, before she left, filled me in a little, if you have some questions. I think your question was on our part-time salary line. I may be able to help you.
Why don't we just speak with her? Not anything against you, John.
I don't,
You know,
I just,
So I'm gonna text her then and tell her not to come back.
That's a good idea.
you know what I'm saying, John?
oh, absolutely, no, I just,
Rather than,
if I could answer a question, I would. You guys could end it, but if you don't, that's fine.
I'd rather have her here. This is more just if you.
Because it's Thursday night, she wants to, well, I don't know if she looks like Thursday night. Not in the building.
Okay, our agenda done?
Yeah.
Public.
Oh, yeah, public participation.
Public participation?
Yeah, we got public participation.
No. Almost say go ahead.
Going once. Gil.
Gil Hayes, 143 Rye Street, Emerson. Just one thing that you guys went through on the police budget. There was some pertinent information that you should have had. Unfortunately, we didn't have it with you. But my question is, if there was a presentation from the police department at the presentation meeting, did you not take notes and get that information as the ratio of police officers to people in the community? And also, just to arbitrarily cut salary when you could perhaps a vehicle that you think we don't need, and keep our police officers and the protection that we have in our town, I thought that you should have spent more time on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Hearing none, then we have an executive session here, but I don't see a reason to go have an executive session. So I'm entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That was a yes, Peg.
We are tomorrow.
I'm not sure I would have given him a full
No coffee in the morning, I'm going with my brother-in-law. Maybe this is any morning. In my tree.
Well,